Yeah, 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 yeah. Holding back this feeling heated again. Chest all tight, deep breaths, can't breathe again. Fighting back these tears, done with all this fear. It's too late to latch the cage, the beast is here. Tired of running and playing all types of games. Tired of acting like everything just gonna change. They say love is the answer, love is the key. Man, tell that cop right in my chest with his knee.
Yo, we back, man. We back.
Hey, mister.
Yo.
Exactly. This was definitely a 3-yo moment, huh?
Yeah, yes. You need another one because it's wild crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wild crazy. So it looks like you in a different setup, my brother. What's going on?
I am, you see Prince over my shoulder.
Hey now.
I got kidnapped by the Caucasians. Some good friends. After the screening on Thursday, they knew I was by myself in my apartment in East Village, and they were like, you know what, you've been working so hard. Why don't you come up here? We got a place. Tim and Tony, they got a house up in the country. And say, just come chill, come be here.
Beautiful.
Tony's from Minneapolis. He's a big fan. And so Prince is everywhere you look. And it's great. It's the country. We went for like a 5-mile hike this afternoon, and just up here. It's interesting. I have moments of pangs of guilt of like I should be there. And then I know I'm not a good riot person. I do not function well at riots. I don't. I really don't. I really, really don't. And I do so much other stuff that I'm like, I feel okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Where I do the support and the help and set things up. But it's good to be outside of the city right now and be away from it and see the people trying to figure it out.
Yeah, man. Well, that's good though. I'm glad you had the opportunity to get a little bit of an escape, particularly in the midst of all the unrest and particularly like New York City's been going through it a lot. You got COVID and you got all this stuff that's happening right now. It's not the place to necessarily be in some spaces unless you really have to be there, unless you're really doing some good work there. But if you can get out and go to a place where you can get your peace of mind back, where you can just really spend some time with yourself in a different situation where you're not reminded about the constant stuff around you that give you those messages. I'm glad you had a chance to step away from that.
Yeah, I got a lot of people taking care of me, which is good.
That's good. Well, I mean, I don't think there's any coincidence that you and I are wearing similar stuff today, man.
Hey, exactly, right? Exactly.
What you got going on over there?
Well, this is from EJI, Equal Justice Initiative. Proud to be serving, for an injustice. That's what I do. That's what I live. So it's when I was packing my bag, I was like, oh, I need my shirts, I need my brown. So we'll come to the brown. I packed this shirt because I left Saturday afternoon and it's Sunday now, and knowing what was coming and seeing what was happening, and that's just how I stand. I understand my role in this work, and I'm a warrior. Gotta fight this justice.
Yes, you are. Salute to you, brother. And I'm rocking something similar, as you can see.
Oh, the names, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I was facilitating a workshop this past week with some attorneys. This is the day after the Floyd situation and the Central Park situation happened. And, and I was telling people, also, you can program a year out for these conversations. Because we're talking about the N-word and the dangers of the N-word and people's understanding of it and how it can lead to death and murder. That was our topic. And they were like, "Oh, this feels very real." And I was like, "Because it is real, very real."
And it's crazy that you said it, because I was thinking about, because we think about what shirt we're going to wear for whatever particular reason, and I've had the shirt for a while, and I'm like, I was thinking about, I was like, when February comes around, you know, this is one I'll definitely bring out. And it's like, we're thinking about those things, realizing that these things happen all the time. But I'm like, hold up. Here I am thinking that life would just not ramp up anymore to the point where it's like, oh, okay, I got to break this out for an episode right now. But yeah, man, that's just how it's been.
Yeah. There's that question, you know, someone said, like, when does one hit the bottom? When is the bottom? And we can go into that a little bit more. Are we doing Tim Brown today? I think I need it.
Oh, if there was ever a day, I thought about the same thing. I was like, you know, but if there was ever a day to get through, take a little bit of the Brown. So what you got going today, brother?
This is, I told them up at the estate, right? You know.
Hey,
I have to break into the shelf.
I've heard stories. But I have not had.
I've had a taste. It's pretty darn delicious. So this is Hill Rock. It is a double cask rye whiskey, Hudson Valley. That's where I am. State Distillery.
There we go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What you got?
I got had to break it out, man.
Yeah.
You know, some barrel proof, a little bit something with a little bit more strength because I need it. You know, a little more strength.
Right. Yeah. I don't have my normal glass. You can see they call the house TNT.
Hey now.
Tony
I like that. I like that.
Right? Awesome.
Let's get into it, man.
You know, I will say this. I did bring, just in case, my little Rudy. Isn't it cute and adorable? A little Rudy.
Look at that little pig. Little whistle pig.
I'll say that for another time because right now we have oh my goodness, the State Distillery. Oh my God.
Goodness. I wish we had smell-o-vision.
I know. I wish I could give it to the camera. Let's hurry up and tell us so I can taste this.
Yeah. Yes, sir. To continuing to do the work, to continuing to be warriors in our respective realms, continue to empower one another, be a light for one another and others, and not letting this moment pass by without reflecting, strategizing, mobilizing, and really thinking about the way forward.
Yeah, definitely. And to all the people that are out there that needed to show up, and they're trying to figure out what it means to show up, out there demanding and pushing and fighting for this change. To all that.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. Hold up now. Hold on.
I need a play-by-play.
Mr. Hill Rock, 1806. All right. That's some good brown.
Hey now. Okay.
Good brown. Okay. So where do we begin? I
think we begin by saying, one, is this situation a situation that we've seen before? Or is this a situation that's even greater than some of the moments we've witnessed in our lifetime?
And what situation is that, my brother?
So I'm thinking about all the unrest. I'm thinking about what is coming from it, where we've seen and continuously see Black and brown bodies being taken violently, whether it's at the hands of police officers, whether it's at the hands of white militia, vigilantes. We see the impact of COVID-19. We see the impact of racist politicians who are supposed to be leaders. We see all of these things, and we've seen these things before. But I don't know about you. It seems like things continue to stack upon stack upon stack, all in one moment. And I'm wondering if this is something different that we haven't seen before, experienced before, in the sense that this is probably a lot all happening at once that we're not necessarily used to, or is it just something that we're not now in the moment where we're like, you know what, enough is enough? I'm wondering what that might be.
Yeah, I don't have an exact answer for that beyond the thinking that it's definitely something, just something different. I think the fact that everyone's been locked away,
Mm-hmm.
and people had to really spend a lot of time thinking about their existence,
Mm.
really going deep inside and thinking about how they show up, who they are. And what brings me to that is, I don't know about you, but my phone, my social media has been blowing up with like checking in to see if you're all right.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, the white people are very like, I just want you to know I love you and I learned so much from you. And I've had a few friends like, I want you to know I'm trying to raise my child to be the best child they can be, like really stepping up. And it's interesting because at first I was like a little, I can't lie, I was a little annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's been this way all for the past 10 years I've been talking to you. Um, and then I had to say, if I believe in respecting people's process, great, and I've been very like, that's really good. I hope you continue. And I appreciate you thinking about me and looking out for me, reaching out. A lot of like calls, like, what should I do? Can you talk to this person? Can I put you on the phone with my niece?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
I was like, I can invoice you for that.
Mm. Mm.
um, but that's real hard because I care and I put myself out there and this is what I do. But it really is striking to me how many people are really reaching out in big ways. People I haven't talked to in a long time. It's like, hey, this is hitting me really hard. I'm thinking about you, and this is really upsetting. And my mind is like, I'm glad your eyes are open more, um, and I wish you well on this journey. And I appreciate you thinking about me. Now to move it to us and why we are responding so intensely. I think it's because there are riots happening in the country right now. And there's all kinds of questions of who's starting, who started looting, who started breaking windows, all the things. States saying there are people from other places coming in here. It's not local people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I listen to all that. I'm just like, okay, great. But three things came to me: Toni Morrison,
Mm-hmm.
James Baldwin, and
Mm-hmm.
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Mm.
James Baldwin talked about it. He's like, you can't be surprised that people are going to react and demand that you understand what feels like them being dishonored by protesting and rioting. You can't be surprised by that because you had your foot on somebody's neck and a knee in their back and all the things suppressing them for so long. Why are you surprised someone like rises up and it's like, no more? Toni Morrison, I saw her talking about it. She's talking about the Rodney King
Mm.
riots.
Mm-hmm.
And why are y'all surprised? She said, frankly speaking, people took a lot longer than I thought they would to protest. She said it. I think the guy that's stealing a TV, he doesn't care about the value. He doesn't care about that TV. He doesn't really want a TV. He cares that you are hearing him say, no more, and I can't take this.
Mm.
It's not fair. And then Fannie Lou Hamer just broke it down. She broke it down. She's like, look, y'all have suppressed us, beat us, killed us for so long. And when we step forward and demand peacefully that you hear us and you don't do anything, so we start making noise and breaking stuff,
Mm.
then we are disrespectful. And to use a modern day phrase that your president used, we are thugs.
Mm. Mm.
So yeah, right. I
Mm.
think I think people just had enough, and I get it. I am exhausted. Just like worn out and worried and concerned and hopeful and all the things. So I get it. I get why people are exploding. It makes sense. It's a powder keg that people keep tapping it. You keep
Mm-hmm.
tapping the powder keg. You hit a lion. The
Mm.
lion's gonna jump up and be like, "Yo, stop hitting me!"
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I completely agree with your breakdown of that. Because it's so clear. It's so clear because you think about what you said in the beginning. A lot of people reaching out to you. I've had the same experience. There's folks who've been reaching out to me from different walks of life in past places that have been in my current place of employment. There's plenty of people who are reaching out, and I think their eyes might be, you know how you wake up sometimes in the morning, you got some sleep in your eyes, you got some coal in your eyes, you can't really see straight, you got to get it out. I think some people are finally like removing the specks of cold from their eye.
Right.
And they're starting to see, or there's some folks whose eyes were open, but they've been looking away.
Yeah.
And now they're starting to turn to look, because no matter which direction you look, it's in your face. It's in your face. And you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and realize, wow, I can't run from this. Folks are still trying to, but you can't run from this. I think about, like you said, there's folks who have been inside, literally locked away inside their own homes. You know, the funny message is that, and it's not funny, but the irony is, stay at home and you'll be safe. We literally have people being killed inside their home, right? They tell us not to protest. They tell us not to march. We take a knee and it's a problem, right? So what is acceptable? So when we start talking about what do we do to move forward, like what is going to be acceptable in a racist, capitalistic society? How do you get the attention of those in power? How do you make sure that they understand, not only understand, but feel what you feel? And there's a lot of conversations that go around, okay, that's wrong. That's not the way forward. That's not the right way. And for me, the way that I see it is that, reminds me of an old saying my grandmother used to always say, there's many ways to skin a cat. Many ways. Now, we all know that this cat needs to be skinned. Should have been skinned a long time ago. As a matter of fact, I don't really like cats, right? But it's one of those situations where it's like, listen, there are many ways to get to that piece. The only thing that's difficult for me, and I'm sure it's difficult for you too, is that there's a fine line, there's a tension between rational and responsible. And that's what I flirt with from time to time. I shared with some folks Friday at work inside of a session that we were sharing. We had an open mic night to finish Asian American Heritage Month, Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And, you know, I was sharing, I was like, listen, it's hard to show up to work with so much anger and still be responsible. It's hard for me to really speak without me saying some things that y'all might look at me sideways because I said it. But then again, I'm also rational if I were to do that. That's a rational response. That's a real response. So the tension for me has always been in these spaces, that tension, that fine line between what's rational and what's responsible. I think about, you know, riots or whatever you want to call it. Rational. People are angry. People are upset. Is there a more responsible way forward? For me, I go back to this piece. I think about it as both and. So if we're going to do that, one, let's be smart and think about what places we're doing this to. But then two, after we do that, what are we doing next to make sure we can organize, strategize, mobilize, and like from a systemic level, try to approach it, because it's an institution. It's an institution. How do we tackle and tear down, dismantle, disrupt this institution? Doesn't happen overnight. Doesn't happen with a few buildings, right? How do we make sure that this is not just a moment where we just let loose, get upset, and people see our anger and rage, or try to use that anger and rage for other talking points, or to put in other laws that are going to further oppress us? How do we just take that, understand that, but when that like subsides a bit, what's next? What's the way to the North Star? How do we really get to liberation and freedom? So really think about that rationality piece and the responsibility piece. That's something I often wrestle with.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because there are moments where it's just like everything's out the door. It's like, forget about it. We got to do this. We try. I was so moved by the. I mean, you've probably seen the meme or the picture of Colin Kirkpatrick being like, I tried to do this peacefully. And what happened? The president said, fire those sons of bees. Like, that was the president's response. Whose new response is, if there's looting, there's shooting. You know, which is the same thing that the guy, that Kearney guy in Florida, I think is in Miami. And George Wallace did not say that. The historian, George Wallace did not say those lines, but he communicated a very similar idea. He ain't clean.
Okay.
So, yeah, he did not. George Wallace did not say that exact line, but he may as well. Because he communicated the same idea of, look what he did. Let's look what he did historically. So we come to it, you know, and I'm sitting here like, I've been making movies for y'all. I've been facilitating a conversation. We're trying to break it down for y'all. I've been like, hey, look, this is what it is. What's happening? And it's been like, oh, wow, that's so great. What can I do? And I'm like, you need to figure that out real fast because it's happening, and we got to change. We got to change. I have a guy I've mentored since he was like 15. He's been in school, and now he's 29. Intelligent guy, intelligent white boy. Went off to Princeton, is now in LA trying to do the film writing, screenplay thing, and making stuff, doing well, and has been like getting it, but in the past 2 weeks has been like really getting it, being like, something just ain't right, Like I'm listening to the stuff, it doesn't make any sense, And he had a moment where he posted something on Facebook, and folks went in on him, and he was just like, I'm just confused, and we had a long conversation. We have these great talks. So we have these like little boy, and now he's 29. I was like, you know what? Let's do this. We're going to read something together. So we're reading this book now, and I've read it. I'm rereading it with him, and it's such a reminder. This gives me so much comfort because that moment of like, how do we get here? Stamped from the beginning. And what it talks about, it starts off with like Aristotle with his theory of climates, in terms of thinking like the folks in Greece were in the right climate, therefore had the right like medium complexions. The Slavs up in the cold climates were white and pale and wrong and bad. The Africans, Ethiops they had, which I think the Greek Ethiopians like burnt ugly, or dark ugly, black ugly, something like that. They were in this lower continent, therefore they weren't. And the Greeks were trying to just maintain power. So therefore they said, those people bad, these people bad, And then the religious leaders took that material and reinterpreted it and spread it out for the Portuguese to start major slavery. Like it just breaks down the history all the way to here in America. And you got the two arguments. You got the climate argument of like darker skin because of darker continents, therefore inferior. And have the son of Ham story coming from Noah's Ark, where God said, Noah, no one have sex with anyone until I say so. But Ham over-sexualized, darker, started a race of people that'll always be inferior. Like when you really break down like how these folks use these stories to perpetuate and just push this idea of darker skinned people are less. Like that's all it was. It was all about maintaining power. It wasn't about anything else. It wasn't about not liking somebody, not finding them attractive. Like, I need to keep you in this position so I can maintain power. So where we are right now is sitting in the history of centuries, millennia of history that led us to where we are now, with people reinterpreting and using the parts they needed. There's this cat named Leo Africa. You ever hear about him? Leo Africa was like a ward of a king, and what Homeboy did is he wrote this black guy who was taken in and enslaved and freed and educated, and wrote this story about describing all of Africa, describing its terrains and the people, and talking about them just being backwards, all these things. And like, yo, word, Leo Africa wrote this. Therefore, we have to review and think about Africa this way, dismissing and ignoring all the institutions in Mali that have some of the highest levels of education, and folks going in to get the money and the gold and just destroying those kingdoms and tearing them apart and robbing people from the land to enslave them out to places. Like this stuff is not made up. Like this is the history. So for me, reading this is a moment of like, okay, this is deeper than we even understand. We studied the Puritans, talked about the Puritan dilemma, and founded the country, but we didn't really go into what they were doing. They were using and manipulating religion to enforce and encourage slavery, and it all came down to like money and power. Now here we are in the seat of it today, with major structures that are centuries old that we're trying to take apart.
And that's super real. And I have so much to respond to. So thank you for that. So I'm going to respond to a number of different things. Then I want to ask you a question. First, just thinking about Colin Kaepernick and thinking about that versus the cop who had a knee on George Floyd's neck, right? Think about that, and it reminds me of that other meme that we've seen where folks say, we march, y'all mad. We protest, y'all mad. You know, we peacefully do X, Y, y'all mad. When we die, y'all silent.
Right.
So I think about that and how silence can be deafening sometimes. And it's like, okay, where are the people that usually call upon us to be allies? Even though we're probably, in a lot of spaces, the most marginalized or oppressed group, they usually call on us to help them out in certain movements. I'm thinking about some of the white liberals in particular. I'm thinking about feminist movement. I'm thinking about spaces where folks are like, we need your support, we need your help. Or sometimes they're like, we're just like you. I'm thinking about some of our Asian brothers and sisters. I'm thinking about things where literally on my wife's timeline, on my timeline, folks that you've had conversations with, folks who seem to be progressive, saying some wild, reckless, and crazy things. We're in a season where people are going to start getting deleted, not only off of social media, but out of your life, because they don't need to be in your timeline, they don't need to be in your life, period. So there's a lot of things like that. There's just no time, there's nothing right now, none of that. And I think about this whole piece where you even talk about how it's funny because they make it seem like we're inferior because of the pigment that we have or the melanin that we have. But some folks who are pigment impaired, they will literally, in some cases, almost kill themselves to get the aesthetic, but they don't want the reality.
Everything but the burden.
Exactly. They can't carry the burden, but they get the aesthetic because they know it lasts temporarily, and then they can always go back to it. But it's circumstantial. It's like, oh, I want to get a little bit now, but you don't really have to deal with what comes with it, nor do you want to. So it's very whatever you want to. But when it comes to other stuff, it's like, oh well, I mean, well, and the thing I was talking about today, I'm like, in a country that talks about people being innocent until proven guilty, I'm tired of hearing these narratives. Whenever something happens, people trying to run through someone's laundry list or trying to say that someone was doing X, Y, and Z. I do not care. Because if this is the American society that you want us to buy into, you're innocent until proven guilty. You are guaranteed within the Constitution, within the laws of the land, for a just trial to be juried by your peers, right? You're supposed to have a jury of your peers. Now we could get into that too, about jury of your peers, but you're at least supposed to be able to make it to the courtroom, right? Not in the coroner's room. And then we already have issues with that too. So when we talk about all these things, there's so many times when I'm like, you know what? I don't have any words. I don't. Like, you want me to show up and talk to people? I don't have any words. And the words that I do have, one, might not be responsible. Two, might really, really come with so much fire, venom, anger, vitriol in some cases, because I'm tired. So what do you do? What do we do when we have no words, when we're tired of talking about it, when we've already identified the problem? What do we do when we're supposed to still show up? How do we do that? What do we do?
Oh, that's a question?
Yeah, that's a question.
Ooh, let me.
A little brown for that.
For one, I have to take a little commercial. This is like a meal. Like, I'm serious. Like, every sip, I'm like, ooh. I'm like chewing. It's so good. It's so good. Good rock. All right. With Hudson Valley, I ain't mad. Ooh.
This is a party in a glass too. It is.
Work it out.
It is.
Work it out. What do we do? You know, I've been struggling with that. Like, I feel comfortable standing on my work. I've been like, here's a link. Go watch this movie again. Here are some resources for you to look and dig into, and Google it sometimes. You know, I think honestly, we have to, at this moment, we have to stop and take care of ourselves. You know, I was really reluctant to come up here and be away and not be in it. And I'm looking out at the back. This morning I was looking at the backyard, and this huge bear just walked by, you know, like probably 200 feet ahead of me. And I'm like, what am I doing up here in the country? You know, what bears walking through the woods when all this happening? But that's what I needed to do. You know, I released that movie on Thursday. It was an intense, great question and answer period. Put it out there. been working on all this stuff, facilitating conversations, training people, for a living. I really had to stop. So that self-care notion is really important. I will lead with that because you can't show up and be the warrior you need to be if you're exhausted. So I think, what I've done for some people is for my people that I really love, I responded when I could. Some of them I haven't even gotten to yet. I really love because I'm just like, I don't have it right now. I don't have the time, And some of them, I just got a really great message from a young cat who's like, I just want you to know I'm doing all I can to raise the best kid I can. I had to talk with my god kids. Their parents are white. And I was like, yo, check out this meme. I sent the dad that meme that says, parents of a black boy, just pray harder. That whole thing. And he was like, wow, I want to spread this. I was like, you should, because it's true. You're a parent of a black child, so it's harder for you. So I don't have a specific answer except you do these 4 things. I do believe the self-care is really important. And then you show up where you can. It's different for us because we do this work all day long. So the answer for us is different because we're already doing it. We showed up. We are at the place where we're asking people to come show up. That's the difference in that situation. And we need to make sure that we're the strongest we can be. We're supported. We take care of ourselves in that space. So I think we continue to do what we do, and we show the path to people for the show up, and we illustrate and lay it out for them, and then we welcome them to it, and in these like terrible moments, I have to really exercise patience. Because I'm like, I told you all this was happening. I told you this is going to happen. I told you how terrible this was. And it takes a lot of patience to respect the process of other people, because a lot of stuff they're seeing is external. It's real external to them. When you and I see that shot of the man with the knee in his neck, we can feel it. We can feel it. And we can think, oh, here are the 5 times it happened to me in different ways. And and you need to sit down for a second and digest that before you get back in the ring, back in the riot, back in the protest, back in the work, back in whatever, and be so you can be the best person you can be. So I really believe that. I guess that's what I keep coming back to is like self-care and prepare yourself to get into that field. Like get your armor up, get your armor on, get your shield ready, polish it off, and really take the time to make sure it's the best shield and the sharpest sword you potentially have to go into this battle. I love my Quakers. I went to a meeting for worship this morning. We did the virtual ones, and it was a Brooklyn one. And before it started, somebody who's who just on her own, it's like, I just want to say, we got to really have faith, and I want to have a discussion after the meeting about what we can do to support peace, because there's violence on both sides. And I was like, this ain't what I came here to hear. And luckily someone came in after that and said, I want to say this, that we need to understand and recognize, because Quaker space is majority white. Understand that for some people who are experiencing this differently, this is a different feeling for them. And they're having a very different experience than many of us have. We have to find a way to open our hearts and respect that. And I was like, good for that. Look at you, the Quaker clap back. She get real nice Quaker clap back. And I was like, I needed that. That's because I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here if that's like how we come out the gate. If that's how y'all talking, I don't want to be here. This is not for me. But someone else came in because it's humans. The humans. I mean, I've had a few conversations about, are the riots right though? And it's like, was the subjugation, was the inequity, was the murder, was the long list, were all those right?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I'm tired of the conversation starting with the riot. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the violence starting with the riot.
Right.
Like we weren't talking about violence. We weren't talking about what was unjust. We weren't talking about what harm or crime was committed until these things started to happen. Not realizing that these things are a direct reaction and result of the action that happened prior to it. So let's talk about that. And I made it very clear. I'm like, if we're going to address this in my school, in my space, whether it's in meaningful worship or otherwise, I need to frame the conversation. Because what I don't want to have happen is exactly what happened in the virtual meaningful worship you just referenced. When some folks might just want to get up there and wax poetic about what needs to be done, start prescribing things, and then ultimately doing further damage and harm. Or people working out their own white guilt or working out their own isms, and they're just waiting for someone to throw them a lifeline because they want to feel like that they're good and not a part of the problem. Newsflash, we're all a part of the problem. We are all a part of the problem. We didn't all create the problem. We're all a part of the problem. So when we talk about this, it's like, stop. Please stop. Some spaces, be quiet, zip it, just exist. Let the spirit move, because I'm quite sure there are some times when some folks who stand up in these meaningful worships, I know the spirit did not move you. I know it wasn't, maybe you had an upset stomach that day, but it wasn't the spirit. Bruh, it wasn't the spirit, sis. Like, it wasn't the spirit. So I'm thinking about it too, because even thinking about the line of work that we're in, I've done a number of different presentations, and there's times when it's like over people's heads, or they're literally doing the Matrix.
Right.
Not doing dodgeball, just trying to like, you're not going to hit me with that message. That wasn't for me. They're doing all that stuff, right? But there's folks who are coming back to me now. They're like, remember when you said this back in September? Remember when you did this thing? That quote that you shared with us? Because now they have real context that they cannot turn away from. They can't. And like you said, because they have to sit still in a lot of situations, process, think about, this is all you see. Your life has been disrupted in one way, shape, or form, right? This is the moment when it's like, wow, well, maybe, you know what? Maybe, okay, I never thought about it that way. So this is something that I hope, as we were talking about before we got on, just that we are able, as people often talk about, we're able to take this moment and turn it into a movement, and one that's sustainable and one that brings about change. But I think we need to have enough anger. And to quote Maya Angelou, anger is fine. Be angry. Really be angry. Just don't be bitter. Because bitterness eats you up inside. It attacks the host, right? But be angry. And she said, talk it out. Like, walk it out. Paint it out. Write it out. Like, never stop talking about your anger. But let's not let that become bitterness to a point where it consumes us, steals our joy even further, to the point where we stay into a sense of learned helplessness, fall into that sunken place, right? Like, how do we use this anger as fuel to make sure that we can bring about the systematic changes that need to be made institutionally? How do we do that?
Right. We have to. We really, really have to. That's good. Be angry, not bitter.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Yeah. Trying to live my life, putting purpose over profit. Too many fallen soldiers, too many slain prophets. Eyes on the prize, yeah, I gotta watch it. Agents amongst us, get your hand out my pocket.